Hey everybody, welcome to another video review. So I'm gonna try to use this little tripod, see how things work out, maybe change it up a little bit. So you get a chance to, I guess, see my face and my facial expressions. I've been told that I sound a little bit boring, kind of like a professor, lecturing. So maybe if you see my face and see my facial expressions, add a little bit more color to the commentary. But it's gonna be a little tricky because I don't have, like I said, a high definition camcorder or anything like that. Or I do, but it just gets a little bit tiresome. I think I mentioned before, I don't have so much time. And the only reason I started doing these videos in the first place again is because it's so convenient doing it from my iPhone X. And then, essentially with minimal editing, I just, splice things together and just load it up on my channel. Again, not looking to be like a PewDiePie. I'm not looking for 100 million subscribers. I'm not here to basically win the Mega Millions Lotto jackpot using YouTube or anything like that. Just trying to show some cool stuff. And so I do have a camcorder, but again, if you record off of that, you have to connect it to a PC, you have to download the video, you have to look at the video, then you have to upload it to YouTube that way. And that's a little bit more time than I have right now. So this is kind of what I'm trying to experiment with, using just the iPhone X to do this. And who knows, as these iPhones get more and more powerful and the quality gets better and better and there's more gadgets for that, then it may even approach, again, a PC in terms of versatility. But for now, I have this very cheap $20 tripod that's just holding my phone. You can't zoom in or out or do anything like that, just basically on-off switch. That's it. So I kind of have to play with it a little bit just to sort of show the piece I'm talking about, and also show me. And so this one here, I haven't even introduced it. This is the Lego Statue of Liberty. And she is like a really, really tall piece. This is, I think, like close to maybe 30 inches. It's one of their tallest pieces for sure. I think only the Eiffel Tower and maybe the NASA, spaceship, the rocket, I'm sorry, not spaceship, the NASA rocket, I think only maybe those can approach how tall this is. So there's not a lot of Lego piece that is tall. And again, when I record this, I put it in landscape mode. When you do it in portrait mode, I think it kind of messes up with the resolution a little bit. And it's hard to splice it and edit it together in the iMovies. And so in general, for the better resolution, for ease of putting together the different segments, I'm basically forced to do landscape mode. And landscape mode is great for smaller, like quarter scale statues or that type of thing. But it's a little bit challenging, especially for really long, like tall pieces like this, because you can't get all of her in one shot. So what I'll do is I'll just sort of talk about it. Hopefully you can sort of appreciate how big she is next to me. It's hard to do that when you don't have a person or human being next to the piece. I'm basically right next to her. So I guess this helps, and it gives you a little bit of scale. And then when I'm done, I'll stop the video, and then I'll basically take the camera off of the tripod and then use it to give some nicer, closer detail work. But this is not a statue, it's a Lego. There's not that much detail to show. It's really blocky. Why is it important? Well, for the longest time, Lego as a company is of course more widely known as a toy company. And so a lot of the stuff they released are for kids. So they're not gonna release like gigantic, huge sets. This wasn't a thing that they thought about or did back then. And this was one of the first pieces where they were ambitious enough to decide to go all out and give you like a major, like high piece count display model. I mean, it's not a toy, obviously. It's there for you to display, and it's tons of pieces. I don't have the exact count off the top of my head, but off the top, I think it's like close to 2,700 pieces, I think. So it's a lot. It's well over 2,000. I know, because I wouldn't have bought it if it wasn't over 2,000. And for the longest time, even I think back in 2000, I would say 13 or 14, the Statue of Liberty, even though it's one of their older pieces, was still like top 10 or top 11 in terms of the highest piece count that Lego was ever done. So this is absolutely the very first ambitious display model that they attempted, and it does show It's not as refined as some of their later works, like the Sydney Opera House, for instance, or the London Tower Bridges, or the Taj Mahal, or the Eiffel Tower. But it has a charm all its own. Again, it was pretty amazing when it was first released. They've never tried anything at the time so ambitious. And this is actually very rare. It's sold in a very plain box. I think there was a black and white version and the color version. There was like a flag on it. Most people at that time, of course, just threw away the box. You can imagine Legos were in the same class as action figures or dolls. Back in those days, people didn't keep things in their boxes and that type of thing. And so finding like a brand new Statue of Liberty in the box, I mean, we're talking thousands of dollars, frankly. $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, it's quite a bit. So you can say that I got lucky. Again, I came into the Lego collecting game a little bit late. I wanted to own every single Lego set over 2,000 pieces. A little bit stupid sounding now, but back then, 5 years ago, it looked pretty attainable. Why? Because in the 60, 70 year history of Lego, for the first like 45 years, they had nothing over 2,000 pieces. This was one of the first sets over 2,000 pieces. It might have been the first, actually. And they would, on average, release 2 or 3 sets over 2,000 pieces, 2012, 2011, 2013. And then it just exploded the last 3 or 4 years, where they would routinely release now 9, 10, 11 sets over 2,000 pieces. So it's becoming increasingly hard to keep up with that, especially if your goal for collecting is to get every single piece regardless of the theme. That means if it's a city, if it's Star Wars, if it's Harry Potter, if it's an architecture, Technic, whatever it is, if it's over 2,000 pieces, you want a copy of it. That gets really, really challenging. So I got this thing off of Amazon. A lot of people go to eBay, but there are some hidden deals in Amazon where if you are careful enough and you're methodical enough, you can get it. And I managed to get her for, I think, not cheap, but it was, I think, it was not unreasonable. It was, I think, it's $700, anywhere from $600 to $700 shipped from a gentleman in Houston. It was an original set. He had the original instruction booklet, and it was in pretty good shape. He had actually taken it apart and gently washed it, and then repackaged it beautifully and separated by color, all in its different parts, and then he sent it over. So I'll start by just kind of talking about the fact that when you have her put together, she really is very beautiful. I'll have her turn around. I think with this view, you can barely see the tip of her yellow flame right up here. You can't see all the base, unfortunately, but you see most of it, and I'll show you in the second segment of this review. There's not much to it. She's gigantic, but she's beautiful. She is definitely a Lego version of the Statue of Liberty. You can actually see her eyebrows right over here, her nose, her hat. So everything, she definitely looks like the Statue of Liberty, and of course, it's got that very, very classic blocky Lego look. Later on, as the pieces that Lego released became more and more complicated, there was a lot more of the SNOT techniques. Later builds became a lot more refined, a lot smoother edges. But this is sort of harkens back to the history of Lego and their roots, so to speak. Okay, so I think it looks beautiful as far as it goes. Since she was released, there's only been, I think, 2 other versions of her. There was one version of her that was released as a very, very rough, basic build as part of the Skyline in, I think it's Skyline's, I think it was Vegas, right? Yeah, I think it's like the Vegas Skyline. It's called Skyline. It might have been the New York. Yeah, I think it's more New York, but it's the New York Skyline. There's the Empire State. Yes, New York is the Empire State Building, Statue of Liberty, and then there's like a hotel. That was an exclusive, I believe, to just maybe online. It was a special, and you couldn't really buy it in the box. You had to just go and get the parts yourself. There was instructions. It was a part of a competition for design. And I made a video of it actually on my camcorder back when I had a camcorder. And when I have time, I may download that and actually upload it later on. I made that a couple years ago, that review. So there's one of her, but it's very basic, literally a few hundred pieces. But the advantage of that piece, or that particular portion of Skyline, is that it actually has the base that the Statue of Liberty sits on. As you can see, for her, I'll try to lift it just a little bit here. As you can see for her, this is all, all she is. She doesn't have, she's not sitting on her iconic base. And the reason for this is simple. This is already well over 2,000 pieces. If you want to add the base, you're looking at another 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 pieces. It would have been a pretty boring build. It would have added a tremendous amount of bricks, a lot more money, to the price tag. And remember, this was Lego's very first attempt at a mega build, at a large piece count build. They were not ambitious enough for their very first one to do something like this. They were probably thinking that this was going to be maybe a financial failure to begin with. Were people ready for Lego to have something like this? And I think it's funny now, but back then they genuinely didn't know. So it doesn't have that. The Skyline, very simple Statue of Liberty, does have that. And then very recently, I think just this year, the Architecture series released a smaller version of her, again with the base. And that piece count is nothing to be ashamed of. I think it was like 16 to 1,700 pieces, a pretty sizable number, and it includes everything. So the Architecture line from Lego, it kind of does the same thing. It gives you, like the pyramids and again, the Eiffel Tower. It gives you these landmarks from around the world, but it's a lot less ambitious. They're very, very small sets, usually 300, 400 pieces. And again, the cool thing, and maybe, the funny thing, and the infuriating thing about Lego is that as time passes, they're getting more and more ambitious. And we have an architectural line that started out being 300 pieces, and now, last couple of sets, I'm seeing 1,500, 1,000, and now the Statue of Liberty, 1,700 pieces, which is pretty remarkable, okay? And that's it. Those are the only Lego version of the Statue of Liberty out there. And of course, the biggest and the best is still this piece right here. And she goes, again, for a mint. Hard to find her in any form, without a box, with instructions, which is what I got. Still pretty rare. Sometimes people bricklink her, where they don't actually get the actual set. They just try to find the pieces and try to find the different pieces based on instructions to build it. There's people who've built versions of this with regular tan blocks or other different blocks, but not the original. Okay, and so what's special aside from the fact that she's the first, the first piece that Lego did that we talked about is this beautiful sand green. And for the longest time, these blocks in this color, you just couldn't get them. So you don't want to spend $1,000 buying a Statue of Liberty Lego set. Very good. We're going to go to Bricklink and we're going to find the different blocks and we're going to build it ourselves. But they had to be sand green. And the problem is that the only sand green pieces are from the Statue of Liberty. You wind up paying $1,000 anyways doing Bricklink. So there just seemingly was no way around that wall. I think as time passed though, I think Lego has released a bit more blocks that are sand green in color, but still not very helpful. And the reason why, again, is because this was the first, so it was a little primitive. So, moving now to actually the build and how was the build experience. Oh, the build experience was interesting. Okay, so basically, I'm used to the Lego instructions where it shows the pictures from different angles. It shows you like the micro build, they, kind of put it together with a bigger build, very, very elegant instructions. Anyone who collects Lego or has built a Lego in the past, say 5-7 years knows what I'm talking about, right? That's not the way the Statue of Liberty was built. Again, because it was the very first one, there was a lot of, I think, there was a lot of unknown, there was a lot of questions from the designers to themselves about how best to do it. And again, because she's very blocky, she's a little bit crude, okay? So a lot of these blocks are very large bricks, not hardly any plates at all. I mean, this is essentially completely done with bricks, okay? 2x3s, 2x4s, 1x2s, 1x3s, 1x4s, you get the idea. So they're large bricks that you then stack to create the ridges that then ultimately give you the shape of the Statue of Liberty. And how it works is you get the instruction booklet, and the first page, step 1, just shows you the base, and then it shows you what type of bricks to lay on that base from a bird's eye view. And then layer by layer, literally one layer at a time, one layer at a time, one layer at a time, almost like a, I don't know if the general audience, you should by this time be comfortable with the terminology. Just like a CT scan, you had a CAT scan where they CT your face or your body, and the images kind of cut you slice by slice by slice. That's how they image you. The instruction booklet was basically like that, which is fine for the first 5 or 6 steps, but if you count, we're talking about 80 steps, 70 steps. And so it gets incredibly confusing as you go on to layer number 38, and you look at this picture and they're trying to show you, what is going on at the layer previously and what are the new blocks that you have to put on this particular layer. And it was amazingly challenging. You had to be incredibly focused. And I think I made a couple of mistakes all the way through it, and you had to go back, and it was just crazy. I promised myself that of all the Legos I built, I would never take this apart, because I just was telling myself, like, I don't think I could stand to build her again. There are other sets where I can take her apart, because take them apart, like say one of the modulars or something like that. I'm running out of space, and I collect statues and things like that. I want the display space, so it's no big deal. I'll break it apart, I'll put it away, and then maybe later on, if my daughter gets older and she gets into this or something like that, I can always rebuild it or something like that, revisit it just for fun. I do love Legos just to build. But this one, I thought I would just go crazy if I had to do it again. So here I am reviewing her, and I think after review her, I'm gonna tear her down because I need the space. She takes up so much space. But that was really frustrating to do and really, really difficult. And again, part of that's because of the way the instructions are. I've never actually seen Lego instructions like that in any set since. It's only the Statue of Liberty that basically, that's how the instructions are put together. So it was very, very challenging. And again, you're not gonna find sand green blocks. You might find sand green plates, but Lego has just shifted. They don't create masterpieces with blocks anymore. You can argue that the later architectural series, the later creator series, much more refined, a lot more use of non-traditional Lego pieces, new molds, a lot more plates to give you a much smoother appearance, a much more refined appearance. And again, the crudity of this is a part of its charm, because this is part of the history of Lego. You're looking at a piece of history right here in terms of how they started all of this off. There would be no Millennium Falcon without this. There would be no Sydney Opera House without this, or any of those sets. I mean, this is what started them off. So yeah, I mean, that's basically it. It's still very, very rare, very, very nice. I don't see a lot of videos on YouTube kind of showing the real deal Statue of Liberty in this type of quality. There's a couple, like years and years old. There's a few build-its, just poor quality again. I gotta say, I think less than 4 or 5, but no official sort of nice review in good quality like I'm trying to deliver. So hopefully this is something that people will look at and enjoy. Again, it's not something that you get a chance to see in real time on a video very often. Also, by the way, for those of you who are truly crazy, on eBay they do sell instructions to actually do a custom base from Lego. It's tan parts. They're not too difficult to come by, again, because the color is not sand green, so it's pretty easy to get. But I think you have to spend probably close to $1,000 to get the thousands of pieces required to build it, and then it would take her from this height literally all the way up to this height. So that would be something to see for sure. But I'm crazy, but not that crazy. I mean, I was tempted. I thought about it, but I just backed off. I think for $50, you can get a CD-ROM of the instructions, and then it tells you exactly what pieces to buy on Bricklink, and it tells you how to put it together. I mean, it's very, very symmetrical, as it should be, for the building underneath it. So it's not a lot to it, but it just takes a lot of time to put it together in a stable way in a lot of pieces. So if you really are interested in doing that, for the lucky original Statue of Liberty Lego owners out there, that's definitely an option, okay? So much for my thoughts on this piece and how I feel about it and the build, which, I mean, I wish I could say it was really fun, but I think George R.R. Martin said this about writing. they asked him one time in an interview, they said, do you love writing? And his response was, I love having written. Okay, so for this, when I think about did I love building it? I think I love having built it, but the actual process of building it was pretty excruciating. But the overall appearance and the look is fantastic, and I'm really happy with it. I had it displayed for many years, and so now it's time to show it off and review it and talk about it, and I'm going to break it down. And who knows, maybe later on when my kids are older, I'll build it together with them. But this is definitely not something, unless your kids, like I have a 10-year-old and a 4-year-old, unless like your kid really, really loves Lego, this is not something that they're gonna have a great time building. So, probably wait until they're a little bit older to see if they want to deal with the challenge of it. Okay, so much for this segment. The next segment, I'm gonna just kind of twirl her around. I'll take my camera off the tripod. I'll give you some detail shots so you can get an idea of what she looks like close up and some of the ridges and stuff like that. So you can appreciate that. Okay guys, so welcome back. I did a little bit of research in between the segments. This was released in the year 2000. So understand that before 2000, Lego didn't make sets like these. I mean, it was just unheard of. This huge. This is actually set number 3450, the original Statue of Liberty without pedestal. It stands 2 feet 9 inches, which is insane. That's like 33 inches for those, doing the math. That's why, again, I have to go up and down. It's just too tall. I'm putting the background in, it's over the background. And it's 2,882 pieces, which is, again, an insane number of pieces. So those are the kind of the nitty-gritty numbers for those of you who are interested. So here's the base of it. It's just a simple gray base plate. As you can see, by the way, some more research, 80 steps, guys, 80 steps, which essentially means 80 layers as we go layer by layer by layer up. So it starts off easy, right? Just these guys. Nice block, sand green. And then it gets to this stuff, and then to this stuff. And you can see, look at the ridges here. Look at these little ridges. You have to do this layer by layer. It's completely crazy. Look at the back part. Again, it doesn't look like much, but think about what it means to build it horizontally, layer by layer, and all the different things you have to basically keep track of. And then at this point, this is where the true nightmare starts, her book. Oh my God, this stuff here, it was just crazy. So again, if you step back, she looks great. Like, it's one of those things where you step back, it looks great, and you get a little bit closer, you can see all the ridges and the blocks and all these type of things. So this is how you had to build them, little by little. And God help you if you make a mistake earlier, because it will screw up everything else above it. So you have to be perfect, 80 perfect steps. So in its own way, this thing that's 18 years old is as challenging as the Millennium Falcon, like the 7,000 plus piece Millennium Falcon. As insane as that is. But take a look, isn't it beautiful in its own way? The kind of the blocky, classic Lego look. Here's the back of her head. Let's look up top here. You can see sort of her crown. And they did a great job with her nose and her eyebrows. Again, all this had to be done layer by layer, little by little by little. And then her arm, and at the very top, thank God, a little bit of color. This is the torch. Right over here. So that's really neat. I'm turning her around. But there's like basically only like one color. Like every single block is essentially just sand green. That's it. That's every other color is sand green until you get to that flame. And so can you imagine for like hour upon hour, you're just basically sifting through sand green blocks. It's like basically 90% blocks. Okay, 90 to 90% blocks, hardly any plate. I think you can appreciate that as you're beginning to see the close-ups here. You always see her from the front, so I'll kind of give her a little bit look on the back. And again, the designers did an ingenious job kind of showing you all the robes and the wrinkles of the robes. And they had to kind of give you that illusion from far away, and then they had to recreate it with just basically Lego blocks to do this. I don't know. It would be great if Lego ever redesigned it and did it with a base and made a just truly massive set. They're so ambitious now. I can totally imagine them just throwing out a 7,000 piece Statue of Liberty. But I think that there is a question of whether truly it would be marketable or not. And so again, one of the downsides of it is it's this gorgeous Statue of Liberty and it just sort of cuts off and ends right here, right on this great base plate. That's it. And so you do have a lot of modifications from people who, you know, they had to build the tan building. They had to build the tan base for her. So here you go. I'm trying to get it from different angles, different interesting angles. I'm looking up the top of her head and just sort of, you know, as she rotates slowly, kind of giving you a appreciation of not only the design that went into her, but also, you know, sort of what has to go into building her. So there you have it. It's shocking to think that there are now well over 50 sets that Lego has created over 2,000 pieces, but they didn't start making a set over 2,000 pieces until the Statue of Liberty back in 2000. I mean, that's insane. But, you know, I think she looks really good against the black background. She really kind of pops. So you definitely can see her. And again, in order for me to get all of her in, I have to basically, you know, move all the way back so you can actually see parts of my kitchen. But how else are you going to be able to fit all of that in? So there you go. Hope that was fun for you to look at. Again, not something you see every day. And I think my next couple of videos, I think I'm going to put up my music box one after that, because there's not a lot of stuff out there on music boxes. And then I'm probably going to show you the Lego original Grand Carousel, which is a revelation and probably my favorite Lego set. Even more, I love that even more than the Millennium Falcon, just because of how amazing it is. And again, you don't see very many Grand Carousel videos showing it, so that should be hopefully a treat for those of you who are interested in that. Okay, so until then, take care, guys.